with like the size of the database. But maybe that's it.
Like too much content on the database, like too much pages. Oh.
Yep. Anywho, all right. Well, let's get started. So on our lag metric side, we are at 16, which is plus 2%. This is because we finished the Delaware LLC and also started a bunch of other things, but those starting things don't really show up here, at least. So we have plus 2% ready to launch the POC, and you can see in this as well. One thing I was thinking is that because we're pretty much like almost done legal, I'm thinking of actually reducing this down to 10% because I'm looking at the app and realizing there's much more to do, and the legal is kind of like almost done. So I'm thinking of putting this down to 10% and putting this up to 20%. But if we do that, that takes us down to 12. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's reality, right?
Yeah. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yep. Does make sense.
All right, Jimmy.
All right. So we will put 12% after adjusting weights of legal and app. All right. On our lead metrics, Rainus, do you have those pre-launch emails handy?
Yep, 1,233.
1,233, and I think last week we had, let's see what we had here, 1,226, so we have plus 7 here.
Yeah, but we had quite a few unsubscriptions from the last email. Every email we send out, we get unsubscribers, so.
Yeah, definitely happens. We have to make sure that our incoming is bigger than our outgoing, and hopefully at the end, from our email list, we have a very, let's say, aligned version of the people who are there. Right, so we want the people on our email list. If they unsubscribe because they're not aligned, that's not a bad thing. If they unsubscribe for other reasons, well, that's different. Anyways, community signed up for the POC. We have plus, I think, well, we have Bankless DAO and Nouns DAO now signed up. So I'll put them at this. Bugs and features worked on for Taxman and the website. Tom, any work on that this week?
Not Taxman and the website, but we were working a little bit towards that POC framework that we're talking about later.
All right, cool. So I'll put 0 for now. That's kind of put into this next part, which is completion of the alpha app spec and design. I would say that we're still 0. I mean, we have ourselves set up a little bit. Let's say 1%, because we at least set up our framework of execution, and you are actually doing some work on the POC yourself there, Tom. So we'll put it here, and then 100% completion of the Delaware LLC. That is done, and our governance docs are updated. Which is great. Sets us up to issue cards in the USA. The next up, I'm going to have the number of POC cost sheets completed. We have 3 partners that I need to do them for: Transcard, Gnosis, and Pateno. So I'm going to remove this one and add this one for next week. So team-wide announcements. We have a Delaware LLC, which is pretty huge. Celebrating a little bit on this. It's a big step for us to have legal representation in the U.S., and it's wholly owned by our Panama Foundation, which is even better. That means that we can continue to have our DAO ethos as we are executing in some of these other jurisdictions. I think that that's really, really important. Most people do it the other way. Most people create a US-based entity and then create a foundation later. This is the way that Uniswap did it. This is the way that Mirror did it. This is the way that basically any VC-backed company or DAO, quote-unquote DAO, does it. So for us to do it the opposite way, we are doing something different, and I think that it's going to lead to better outcomes for us. At least that's what I'm hoping. So I'm really pumped about this, and I'm I think we should celebrate as a team.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't have the little celebration buttons on these amphitheaters, but...
No, I know.
You just have to do verbal celebrations.
Yeah, I'd be using that, trust me.
It's like, geez, let's just let the technology do it for me. I have to talk. I have to like write things down. What is this? Anywho, I am I did onboard, I quote unquote onboarded 2 new members. Sam Marin, who's actually on our multi-sig, and she's one of the directors of our Panama Foundation. She would like to, now she has some time, she'd like to help a bit on the launch campaigns. I synced her up with Coffee Crusher and Reynes, so I don't think she'll come here today. And then there's another contributor coming out of Skylab, who's done some successful NFT drops for artists, so you can think of that as kind of a crowd raise. So it would be useful to have her around too. She said she's going to make it today, but I guess she's not here, but that's okay. We are async first. Would have been nice for her to introduce herself, but no worries. We will see her async another time. And she goes by Claire. You may have seen me introducing her to Bankless Card in the Bankless Card channel. So if you see her, go ahead and say hi, and we'll see where she can get plugged in a little bit later. Looking down into our milestones, we have first up the funding. We have the funding needed to launch the POC. SafeDAO and Gnosis grants are in review. I'm going to poke them this week. I think that basically they said by end of September. It's getting close to the end of September. So I just really want to understand where they're at. Retro PGF3 is starting up. I'm wondering if we should submit Taxman for this. This is kind of something that Hazu had said that they should, that they suggested that we submit Taxman. The downside is that we actually don't have a lot of traffic that's flowing through Taxman because, it's not tax season, right? And we have a few things that we need to do to make it usable. It's not tax season in North America for tax year 2022 anymore. That is the caveat there. So there are a few things that we need to do to actually make that usable. So we don't actually have a ton of people using it on Optimism yet, but maybe we can get some funding anyway. I also have a meeting with Katie, who is on some part of the Optimism Grants Council, and she's also part of UDHC, which was described to me at Permissionless as the Maker Mafia. These are people who made a bunch of money starting Maker, and now they are like a VC fund with no LPs, which is crazy if you know anything about VC funds. Yeah, so I have a meeting with her today on how we can position ourselves for grants. So that might be useful to her to talk about Taxman as well. And so we shall see where this goes. But in general, we're not counting on grants coming through necessarily for us because, as we found from our pitch blitz, they don't consider us public goods, which is, I debate that. But anyways, I'll talk to Katie about it today. On the investment side, NF Thinker is reaching out to Multicoin. I'm setting up meets with LPs and angels that I met at Permissionless. In general, most VCs I've met, they're like, let us know when your POC launches, right? Like, this is exactly what we already know, right? That they're waiting for some usage and a POC. So I'm not working too hard on investment, but I do think that if we get like if we fall backwards into an angel that's willing to fund our POC, that would be an amazing situation. So I'm not going to close any doors either. Yeah. And then on the crowdfund side, so we haven't actually created our plan for a crowdfund yet, but I did talk to a video producer friend about a video just because I was serendipitously talking to him. He's a very good video producer about Bankless Card. He actually created that 3D card model that Bobo uses to create Bankless Card renders. So he goes by Space Cadet on Discord, although he said to me, dude, I cannot do Discord. So he'll never be on Discord again, but he did potentially say that he could make a video for us for free, which is crazy. He charges a lot for his work.
Wow. Maybe he'd be interested in animating the pitch deck.
Oh, yeah? Well, I mean, I think like he was already like, I don't know if I have time. I don't want to commit to something that I'm not going to be able to get done. But he suggested so he just bought, or he's in the process of buying a studio that has green screening. And he was like, I really want to do some of these AI-generated green screen videos. And he's like, I think I could potentially make you a crowdfund video based upon this AI-generated green screening technique that he and his kind of crew have been working on. So that is the context of this. So I don't think the pitch deck is a good thing to do because it's not geared towards raising money from a crowd. It's more towards investors. But something like the pitch deck, yes, there are multiple ways he can do it, and he's still thinking about it. But ultimately, he took me through a discovery call for the video, and you can see the output in that Google Doc over there.
Or I'll check it out, definitely. By the way, we also have a green screen in our studio, so if there is a need for filming something on the green screen and giving it to him, we can do that as well. For example, if we need Andy on the screen or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just feel like we're going to need some sort of video because in a lot of crowdfunds, people will just decide to, like, just based on the video, people decide whether to fund or not. This is something I learned from previous crowdfunds. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, it tells a story better than anything you can write in text. It produces emotion, and that's fabulous contact for if he's willing to do that for us.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not going to hold my breath because, he's just a very busy person. And now he's starting this new business with his green screen studio. So, I mean, we have video chops on our team as well, especially in our Bankless Latvia crew. So we're going to make a video regardless, but it would be nice to get some help so that we could concentrate our efforts on making videos for socials and other things as well, right? Like we can take those videos, slice them and dice them. We can learn some things from his techniques as well. So we're always happy to have new contributors. Anyways, I talked to someone there. I also talked to Venture Club recently, which is kind of like a Web3 crowdfund platform. And they're like, hey, we would really like to run a crowdfund for you. And so we were like, okay, yeah, maybe. I told him our timeline of January, and he was like, okay, that's perfect. So we'll see. There's a lot of potential there. And you need a US-based legal entity, which we now have, and then all we need is a kind of like agreement for a SAFT or something. But we haven't talked about what we're giving people for the crowdfund yet. So all this to say, we're not quite ready to get too deep into the crowdfund, but it is there. That's what we're headed towards, and we need to talk about it sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Cost sheets. I need to update the cost sheets for Gnosis, TransCard, and now Pateno. Pateno is the Canada-based provider. They sent us a letter of intent, which includes all of the costs related to it. And so that is interesting for me. I will update it so we know how much a POC is going to cost us. Then we can get into the crowdfund after that. All right, moving on down to the app. Our POC is ready to launch. First POC sync happened on Monday. We have a new Asana board related to it. I'm working on the requirements and the use cases for the alpha, and Tom Tramner is working on some initial proof of concept for safe account abstraction and progressive web apps. So you can see there is also a new thread in our Bankless Card channel. If you're wondering what's going on, or if you want to implicate yourself in doing the POC. I see Anafant is here. I'm not sure if you can make it to that Monday meet, Anafant, but I think in the past you've kind of said that you're interested in the POC. So if you can't make it on Monday, if you're still interested but you don't know what to do, just let me know. We'll figure something out for you. And of course, not just Anafant, anyone else as well. On the card issuing side, we have signed with the card issuing provider, still technically blocked on getting that bank account. So getting the bank account is essentially, we need an EIN, an employer IN, something number. I guess it's like a social security number, but for employers, to get a bank account. We can still probably move forward while we wait for the IRS to get back to us, but we need, so what we can do on this, on the diligence side, there's a 5-pager that I had been working on with B4U to help us get through diligence. Haven't quite completed it yet, and honestly, I've been radio silent a little bit with B4U, so I'm going to try to create a meeting with them next week, which will give me a little bit of fire under my butt to get that 5-pager where it needs to be, which will help us hopefully get through diligence with some of these banks. Pateno, which is our Canadian-based provider, has sent us a letter of intent. Now we can use that to set up those cost sheets that I kind of mentioned earlier. So everything moving forward on the card issuing side, although we are technically blocked, Hopefully, we'll see some movements coming into the end of September from Gnosis Pay as well. So we shall see. On the legal side, our U.S. legal entity is set up. I put it on Notion. If you're wondering what it looks like, go ahead and check out the governance doc over there. As I mentioned before, the bank account needs an EIN, which could take 4 to 6 weeks. I'm hoping it takes a shorter amount of time than that, but that's kind of the time that they give on their website. I'm also, we already talked about this, reducing the weight as of the legal. It's down to 10% now, which reduces our percent ready, but that's okay. We're also meeting another lawyer through a contact at Agora. I'm going to get feedback on our plan. Originally, they were going to help me mint an LLC, but that LLC is completed, so that is fine. On the DAO partner side, I mean, I will put what I can, but there is a Noun DAO proposal being created by NF Thinker. NF Thinker is not able to make it today. He's got a photography client right now. But there's a proposal floating around for Nouns DAO that he's creating. There's also some ApeCoin DAO interest. Some of the top people at ApeCoin DAO met with NF Thinker last week, and they're pretty pumped about this. They are also one of those DAOs that really understand that DAOs are brands, and so I think that is an interesting way to go potentially. That would be a dream partner for us. He also talked to one more DAO, which is called Yuba. Also talk to Yuba. I'm not quite sure who they are, but the meeting minutes are in our Notion. So if you're wondering, go ahead and take a look at that. We have 2 partners locked in of the 3 that we want for this. Actually, I should write that down here. In our DAO partners, well, I can do it a little bit later because we're going to need to do that. Anyways, going down.
Links.
Yep.
Didn't NF Thinker also meet someone at HQ that is sort of, I forget, the guy whose name is Nick or something, that is he's interested in sort of the loyalty card, rewards card, and yeah.
Yes, he did. I think, or I wasn't sure if he did, or I think he's around Bankless Citizen perks. So good reminder for sure. Unsure where that's going, but he did post something about kind of like what are the kind of rewards for Bankless Card users. So I'm supposed to sync up with NF Thinker tomorrow. So I'll ask him a little bit more about that later. All right. Launch campaign, our POC launch campaign is ready. So, Reynes, I have this attached to you, but if I'm not mistaken, it's actually Coffee Crusher who this is assigned to now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I will change this to Coffee Crusher.
For that, I'm going to set up a meeting. Samantha's reached out to me, so I'm going to do a call with her to discuss sort of how we doing forth of the POC, and then the other update is just awaiting to hear back from the Nouns DAO, because that's like in terms of their co-marketing, there's some requirements that they may have in terms of kind of things they want to do, and I know that NF has already reached out to them regarding that. So.
You're fading out a little bit there, Coffee Crusher. Are you far from your mic?
Oh, no. It's probably like winding down because the coffee's running out. Sorry.
You should set up like an IV to go straight to your veins. That would prevent that.
Totally, like a casket size. So yeah, no. In regards to the Nouns DAO, so the co-marketing, I know that NF Thinker has reached out to them in terms of sort of some of the ideas, and that's still on the table. I know they're trying to get the contract solidified or the relationship solidified, but that's just awaiting once we're ready to get that done.
All right, nice. And if you want to as well, if you want to talk about it more deeply, I think we talk about it kind of like at those Tuesday meets. So I'm not really sure if you want to talk about it more deeply, but I guess like one of the things I would say is that for these launch campaigns, maybe we want to bust out this a little bit more so we can see what the progress should be and also how it works in Asana.
Yep.
If we want to start assigning tasks to people.
Yep.
our related assets. This is Tom and myself. So the bug that I reported last week, Tom, I found out that it's only on mobile. So I suspect what happened was when I fixed the bug originally, I didn't fix it on the mobile side. I think that that's what it is, personally. So I could probably take some time and fix that today, but I haven't quite debugged it yet. I just know it's not there on desktop, and it is there on mobile, the bug.
Okay, I can take a peek at it and see if I can see where the difference is, and maybe just loop back to you if I need some help tracing it down.
Sounds good. I'll try to create an Asana task as well, which just like sorts that stuff out. But I don't have a good debugging tool on my mobile device, so I would have to do mobile on my desktop to see. Anyways, I guess like I'm not sure about this. This is just a question I had this morning. Do we have any work to get Taxman ready for Retro PGF? I'm thinking maybe that date selector. I'm not quite sure. Where are we on like on the date selector work, Tom? I guess that we're going to look in the Asana task, but yeah.
Yeah, the main thing is just me trying to figure out something with that historical price data API calls. It gets expensive or slow, and I haven't figured out quite a workaround yet. I really just got to sit down with it and give it a couple of days. So, but I haven't got there yet. If it's a priority, certainly for any applications, I'll put it on the front burner.
I will see if it's a priority. I'm going to talk to Katie today and see. But like honestly, I don't see us getting much from Retro PGF for this because we didn't have a lot of people go through it. So it's like I wouldn't prioritize it now, but if we finish it, then maybe in Retro PGF 4, we can get some play on it. But yeah, I would say that.
I was just going to say I tend to agree. I don't know if they go by usage factor, but yeah, that might be one limitation that even a very nice product has.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not useful to people right now just because it like there's no tax events that are happening right now, or there are no tax deadlines that are happening right now that our product actually solves for.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, I will update you on that when I can. For now, let's pop into our task perspective and see what we got. I did a little bit of work on here. So I see that, Tom, I see that. I put these in the inbox because I thought that you're working on them this week. Is that correct, that you're working on these this week?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm going to put them in here. And next, we have gone through diligence with TransCard. I would say that this is kind of like after our B4U, like we're working on this B4U thing over here. So I'll leave it here. We have our roll salaries for week 38. I definitely know that these people had done their work last week. But Reyes, did you spend at least 5 hours on Bankless Card? I suspect the answer is yes.
Yep, completed some previously long not completed tasks like customer journey maps and stuff. Updated some profile pictures and the daily task stuff.
And I'll just ask Hazu if she did as well when I see her next week, and I'll put it in here. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do the opposite accounting. So I will close this off. And we have a U.S. bank account. This is kind of my next task, although I would say that we're blocked on this right now because we're waiting for an EIN. Waiting on EIN. All right. Create a USB, still in the inbox. Create a proposal for social media efforts. Coffee Crusher, I didn't forget about this. I created a task for myself. Typically, I will do all of these proposal stuffs as I'm running the monthly payroll, which is probably going to happen in the next 10 days. So I'm going to throw it in here, kind of in the middle somewhere. Boom.
Okay.
And I'll get that done. Yeah. Looking down at our milestones and projects. We kind of talked about these milestones already, so I'm going to skip over them. Although I will say that we did create a US-based legal entity, so we're going to go ahead and complete this task. Always nice to have a completed task. Blocked waiting needs feedback. Safe DAO grants. We also have the Gnosis grant, which is not listed here, but it's something else that is blocked at the moment. TransCard, this is our US-based provider, and a US-based bank account. So TransCard's kind of blocked on this, so I'll say this is a little bit more important. This week, create requirements for Alpha App. I would say that is probably my top priority because Tom and Hazu are blocked until I can move this forward. So that's my top priority because I'm blocking others on this. Did create this Google spreadsheet, which we can talk about a little bit further down the list if that's what we want to talk about. We know how much it's going to cost to run a POC for 6 months. I want to create that list for TransCard, Patino, and Gnosis Pay. When we do that, that kind of unblocks us a little bit on what we're doing on the crowdfund side and even some on the investment side as well. So it is important that we do that. We shall see if I get it done this week. Our POC launch campaign is ready. Yeah. How's this going? I mean, we briefly talked about it, but are there any next steps you want to
add? No, I mean, I think we got it all covered in the notes. It's basically just it's like ready, I don't say ready to launch, but we're gearing up. Let's put it that way. So it's sort of like figuring out what we can do. It's all the planning stages now of like what we can do, what Nouns is willing to do, and then sort of coming up with an idea. I mean, one of the things that I really want to implement with that is that there's going to be co-marketing and then there's going to be marketing by us, right? There's two different things for that POC because, we'll do co-marketing stuff with Nouns and or BCard or BDAO, but it's also is promoting it as well ourselves. So it's kind of like two tracks at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's usually very like kind of synchronous in that you need to sync with other people to make it work as well. So yeah, absolutely agree on that. Ramus, I noticed that it's great that you put this Google Doc here. It's helping to centralize knowledge, which is one of our 3 mantras for async work: centralized knowledge, decentralized decisions, keep a tight feedback loop. The one thing that's not good is that I get access denied on this, which I suspect means that it's not in our Google Drive. It's probably in your personal Google Drive. Yeah.
It is in my personal. I'll allow access.
Yeah, even better is if you put it in our team Google Drive. Actually, it would probably be best if we moved over to the Google Drive, which exists in our like media at banklesscard.xyz, links at banklesscard.xyz. We should probably move all that stuff there. I just haven't done that yet, so we shall see.
I have access to the media one, so I can put it there.
Yeah, sounds good. Tom Chandler, I see that you added these updates. Anything you want to, any TLDR that you want to give to the group on these account abstraction implementations?
Mostly, I was just trying to give you some maybe inspiration when you're going towards leading those alpha requirements about sort of what tools are out there in terms of implementation from potential partners like Gnosis Safe, whatever we're calling them these days. And I was pretty impressed with the sort of the onboarding flow that could exist in terms of getting a user blockchain onboarded. That account abstraction has some built-in flows for users using their social media credentials to log in, using an email address to log in, or using an already authenticated blockchain account to log in. So sort of the 3 target markets that I think we would look at deploying towards covering pretty much all of our use cases if we went ahead with that.
Cool. Sounds good. And if you want to check it out, you can also check out the POC thread and also determining an implementation that will work for account abstraction. I guess this is related as well.
I think it's kind of looped into the other one. I kind of started working on it all in that one thread.
Cool. Sounds good. Our partner, B4U, this is also kind of important. It is related to our diligence process. So to issue cards, we need to go run through a diligence process with a bank in each country that we're going to be launching. This one is, B4U is a partner that Lord Elvick introduced us to, who's trying to help us get diligence for banks in the States. So this is something that we want to go through. I would say that we've gone through diligence with TransCard is kind of intimately related to this partner, B4U. We shall see. So this is something that I wanted to get done this week so that next week I can meet with B4U to help us get some feedback on that. Website V2, I don't know if you did any work on this, but I guess we just talked about the bug that exists.
Yeah, I think beyond the mobile thing, everything should be functional and working there. The fix is in place and everything should be working last I tested.
All right, awesome. We'll leave this here, or do you just want me to review it and see?
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly chat about it later when I try to pull down what that mobile issue is.
Okay, cool. We just talked about this proposal for social media. Our go-to-market strategy doc. How's this going, Coffee Crusher?
I haven't put a lot of work into this. I'm just more focusing on the POC, but I think that's one of the things that I
You're kind of trailing off again, Coffee Crusher.
Running out of coffee. Sorry, I think it's one of the things I want to talk to Samantha about because I think it coincides a lot with the POC launch, but it's like I want to make sure that I'm not, because some of it's going to be duplicate, so I have to figure out what, when I said there's two different go to market strategies where it's the part of the co-marketing and the the BCard marketing. So I think it's tied to it's sort of tied to the first one, which is the POC launch.
Okay.
Or contingent upon.
All right. I'll put it here. Grab this. Go to market strategy doc. All right. And the customer journey map space, I think you actually shipped something for this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I gave up on Figma because I was in a dead end, and I turned back to Google Docs, which is my more suitable way of expressing information. And I set up a simple current customer journey map, which is from awareness to pre-launch email sign up. So it's a bit more simple than I started doing in the Figma, but I think you get the point of course. I will add it to the Exxon test. I don't think I have done it.
All right. Yeah, please do. And also put it on our Notion so that people can access it and make sure that people actually have access to it. And even better, put it in our Google Drive.
Yep.
All right. Create a way to set the date range. Tom, I think we just talked about this. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say on this.
No, we said it.
All right. How crypto cards make money. How you doing on this, Coffee Crusher?
Haven't done a lot of extra work on that recently, but it's still my to do. It's just I want to say a lower priority, but I will get it done. It's just it's like it's I got to worry about the launch campaign.
Yeah, do you want me to remove this? I will ask about anything that's in the this week section. Do you want me to put it into next up so I stop asking you about it?
Yeah, put it into the next up.
Okay. BCard ambassadors. How's this going, Renus?
No, absolutely no sign-ups from Fabian, and I'm thinking that I have to revisit the setup and just approach media node leaders individually, main ones, not like contributors, but like the node champions in IMN. And I'm considering pitching this to our Bankless podcasts and publishing and stuff like that, because that will probably coincide with the POC launch campaign as well. So if we could get BCard ambassadors already being BCard ambassadors, it will be way more easier to spread the word of the launch later.
Yeah, agreed. All right. And Glean.ai, this is NF Thinker's thing. So I think it's probably in the same spot as last week. So I'll leave it there for now. But I'll ask NF Thinker any updates. And we'll leave it there. All right, 9:40, and we are through. Unless there's anything else that is on this list that isn't on this list that should be. We probably have that nouns proposal, but I will figure that out with NF Thinker and try to get it on this list for later. Otherwise, let's get into my favorite section of the week, and I'm sure that I did not get everything here, so I'm going to go around the room as well and ask others if they shipped anything. But I did create a US-based legal entity and updated our Notion docs around it. Links, Hazu, and Tom had our first POC sync, and we made an Asana board and a requirements template. I engaged some new contributors, Sam Marin and Claire. Sam's going to help with the launch campaigns. Claire, we're going to see where she's going to fit. Tom created a quick and dirty view of the app using Safe Core. There's a link there if you haven't seen it. Anyone else ship anything this week? Even if you shipped it internally, whatever kind of progress you made, this is the time to put it out.
Customer journey map.
Yeah.
Also, I shipped a new profile picture for our email.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Anyone else ship anything this week?
Yeah, which is tied to Remus's stuff. So shipped the, on our socials, the step-by-step DAOs, the videos that Andy did, with a link to the article.
Yeah. And so this is like Remus also shipped onto the Mirror, and March shipped an email, and Andy shipped some videos. So this is a team effort. Yeah, that's a really good call out.
Yep.
Also, I think we are the only ones in the crypto space currently doing those type of videos. So it's true.
Amazing.
Like people are. So we want to. We've been talking with Andy. He wants to up the quality of those videos because he doesn't like currently just simply standing and explaining definitions. So we're going to try to think of something more creative.
Amazing.
Sweet.
Anything else that we shipped this week? I guess like NF Thinker shipped a draft of the Noun DAO proposal. And also NF Thinker had chats with Ape, Coin DAO, and Yuba, I think it was Yuba, something like that. It's a weird name. Anything else that we shipped that we wanna write down here? All right. Well, great week. The one discussion item I have on here is something I talked about at the Product Weekly, but Hazby's not here, and so Tom, you probably heard me talk about this already, but I think it's just important to bring out that our common language when we are shipping a product, when we're shipping a software product, when we're shipping even like the marketing and communication around a product, the user perspective is our common language. And what is user perspective? If we look at the world as just like a bunch of infinite perspectives, I have a perspective, Tundi has a perspective, Winverse has a perspective, Anafant has a perspective. We all have different perspectives. And then if we come together, we can all say we also have the Bankless Card perspective. And then we have the perspective of our users as well. And I think that the user perspective is a really important thing to keep in mind and understand, especially as you're communicating with them and building a product is in some ways communicating with them, but it's also shipping something that can be useful to them as well. So I think that user perspective is really useful to keep in mind and keep as our common language. We have to remember as well, all of the stuff that we're shipping internally, that's great. That's good that we're shipping stuff internally. It shows progress. It shows that we're doing things. That is our internal perspective. But stuff doesn't actually move from an external perspective. The impact that we make on the world doesn't happen until we ship stuff to the user. Whether that is shipping an article or shipping a piece of software that helps them solve their problem, there's no impact externally until we are satisfying some user need, and that comes from the user perspective. And so whether you're a dev, a product person, a designer, a communicator, everyone can understand the user perspective. It takes some work to be able to put yourself in the user's shoes, but it is really valuable work to do. Sometimes when I'm writing software, I mean, I think like something a lot of developers and even product people forget is when they're speccing something, sometimes I just ask them to close their eyes and think about using it as if you were a user. Think about the design that you just created and then try to use that as a user. As soon as you do that, it changes something in your mind. It puts you in a different state of view, and it allows you to rigorously see whether or not what you have shipped is actually useful to the user. I think a lot of groups, especially in Web3, get caught up in about what is useful to them instead of what is useful to the user. I mean, I think FriendTech is a really good example of this. FriendTech's onboarding requires you to post on, like, connect to Twitter, and it will post on Twitter for you. It requires you to put their app on the home screen. It requires you to as well bridge money onto Base, and it asks you to do all of these things without ever saying anything to the user about what value they're going to provide. What problem are they solving for you? And that is because they want you to do those things for them. Those steps that you're taking as a user benefit FriendTech. They do not benefit the user. And I want you to think about that for a second, because this is a problem in Web3. This is exactly why Bankless Card exists, because we want to bridge the UX gap between Web3 and the real world. And to do that, we really need to understand the user perspective, not just understand it, but hold it close to ourselves. Everything we should be doing, our highest ideal is to satisfy that user perspective. Sometimes it is to be creating software that they're going to use to solve a problem, like Taxman. Sometimes it's just going to be something to entertain them as they're scrolling through Twitter, or give them a community that they can feel part of, a sense of belonging. Whatever it is, we are trying to satisfy that user perspective. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. I really love today's explanation of Bankless Card.
Yeah, I mean, it totally does. And that also affects the words we use, how we communicate, for the people that, for the outbound communication stuff, because it's written, what we write or what we say is going to be based off of how a user would perceive what's in it for them, what's the benefits to them, not BCard,
Exactly. What is the benefit to the user? We should be asking ourselves that question every step of the way, because ultimately that is a hypothesis that is baked in. If we satisfy the user, if we bridge the UX gap, then more people will be onboarded. Reynes, I saw that you unmuted. Do you have something to say around this?
Yes, I have something to offer in this sense. So I've been working on a brand discovery session for the past 3 years, and I've been offering it to some local clients and testing it out. And I think that I am ready to do this more professionally myself with my video clients and stuff. But this I had this idea that maybe we need to refresh the Bankless Card brand, since our last brand workshop was like a year and a half ago or something like that. This is around a 2-hour session where we go over basic questions about our brand strategy, and just defines these things a bit more precisely than usual, than what we have in our minds currently about what is BCard's brand stuff, or what are we aiming it to be. So if you guys are interested, we could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, and from my perspective, Reynes, I think that's fabulous, is that if we're about to do a POC campaign and just regular, go-to-market strategy, I think we really have to get, because you said it, we did it about a year ago, a lot has changed in the world, so it's always good to sort of, once you set a strategy, it's not like the only strategy, you have to sort of always reiterate it and sort of look to see if it's still working and how you improve it, and yes, definitely, 100% behind the 2-hour, looking at the brand. And
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
all right, when do you guys do it?
Yeah, just make sure that NF Thinker and Hazard are there too if we can. I think that they're they're really related.
I will set up a lettuce meet then.
Cool, sounds good. So related to the user perspective, unless anyone else has anything to say specifically on that idea of the user perspective being our common language.
Links, what's the link that Google Sheets?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this is what we're going to be. This is our UAT, our user acceptance test. So when I'm creating a software product, I usually always like to use this kind of template here. The idea is that we'll put in some requirements, and then we will create some tests for those requirements. And this is actually a terrible example of this because it is completely empty. So let me just open one up. But the idea is that I use this for clients. Where is it? Here we go. Professional document. Just popping this open. So here is an example of one that I've done for a client. So the idea is that you have these lists of requirements. Users must be able to create a new account. Users must be forced to accept the terms of use. Users must give their full name, email, and password. In each of these, you notice that there's a user at the beginning. So we're going to define those users. There are 3 users here: the end users, Smart Halo, and the app. That's because it's this. These are the 3 users that we have, and everything is defined in terms of the perspective related to those 3 users. So we have this one. It has a requirement ID. Users must be able to create a new account, and then we create use cases for each of these. So you can see that there's an R1 right here, create account. We have preconditions, a user action, and a system response. And then using this, we can actually test whether or not these user requirements are actually satisfied. And so ultimately, not only do we end up having a way to spec our system, we end up having a way to test that system from a user perspective. And this creates kind of like an outer layer of quality assurance. It is kind of like our last line of defense against bugs that creep in as we are starting to execute and iterate on the app. And so that's what user acceptance tests are. They are tests from a user perspective, and that's the way that we're going to be executing on our POC. We're going to be writing these requirements down that need to be done from a user's perspective. They need to be able to log in. They need to be able to see our token balance. They need to be able to send and receive tokens. And then we're going to go through and spec how these look in wireframes, in visual design. We're going to implement and deploy them, and then we are going to test whether or not the user need is actually satisfied. Those requirements are user needs. And so when we're talking about user language being our common language, these user acceptance tests, these are this is how we are showing that externally we are actually making progress, is because we are going to be executing on this, or something more like this, I guess. And we'll be able to see test by test, requirement by requirement, whether or not we're actually making progress on satisfying the user needs.
Got it. Okay, so to equate this to like communications marketing, go-to-market strategy, I mean, this is basically the POC campaign and the regular go-to-market strategy campaigns need to really look at benefits to the user, why it's important, what they get out of it. Like taking your friend tech example, where it was I didn't realize that was what was happening because I didn't sign up for that. But so
why would you?
I get it. Yeah. I was like, that seems like so scammy. Like, I don't know, but that's just me. But yeah, so I get it. So I think that's something that I would love to, talk to Sam about and have bring us involved in that, and just, talk about how we can talk about the benefits. And I think part of that will happen in that branding call, because we'll start to get sort of like what is it we represent, BCard as in the brand, and then that sort of will drive the benefits of and what it gives the users.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really important to try to make that distinction, because it's ultimately those user benefits, and we do have those written down, right? Like if you look at our pitch deck, you can kind of see what our value prop is for each of those groups. But having a value prop and communicating that value prop are 2 separate functions, are 2 separate actions that you have to take, because having a value prop is kind of like internally for our team. This is how we understand our market. But communicating that value prop is more around making a connection with our users and usually like creating some sort of emotional response in them, right? So it's 2 separate actions, and I think it's good that you're taking that time. Yeah, connection, I think, is making a connection is the most key word that you just said. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what DAOs are for, is for making connections. So let's continue to make connections as we go. So this UAT list, I mean, I will say it also kind of reveals something that I'm opinionated about in software development, in that Some software teams, they have like, all right, we're gonna do this and we're gonna move fast and break things and QA, that's someone else's job. We're gonna hire a QA team for that, or that's it's okay if things are broken. In my opinion, quality assurance is everyone's responsibility, in that it is no one team's responsibility. It is kind of split up amongst the teams. So from a POC perspective, we're going to have technical quality and user quality. User quality being do these things work from a user perspective, and technical quality being mainly stuff like from a technical perspective, we can run a bunch of automated tests and see whether or not our stuff works as expected. I think that quality assurance in general needs to be distributed amongst the team in a kind of deterministic way. I'm using big words and I shouldn't be, but ultimately anyone can run user acceptance tests. Anyone can go through this spreadsheet and set up their preconditions. I'm not logged in. I downloaded the app. I'm not logged in. I'm going to go through the steps and see in, and I'm going to see whether or not it actually shows me the navigation screen at the end of this. And if I do that, I can do this as a pass. It's really important that we all keep that user perspective in mind. And so ultimately, everyone will end up running tests like this because not only does it allow you to see the user perspective, see the state of our app, but it also spreads that user perspective and user pains throughout our team. So if a user is experiencing pain, we should be experiencing that pain. If the user is having some useful tool, we should have that useful tool for ourselves. Getting as close to our users as possible is one of the core benefits, I think, as a DAO, because in Web 2 organizations, the users are like outside of your organization. They're like not part of your organization. They're like kind of outside. In Web3, we invite them in. In fact, we invite them in so closely that we distribute ownership of our organization to them. And I think that to me, it is a subtle and key difference of Web3. It is one that I believe is going to make a huge difference in the world. And so this is why, I've been using this framework in Web2 startups, and I'm already bought in that idea. But we invite those users into our organization, and we say not only, hey, use our stuff, but we also say, hey, come build with us, right? And that is the key difference between Web 2 and Web 3, and one I think that we should embrace if we really want to be on the right side of history.
Woohoo! 100%.
All right. Well, we're coming up. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. We're coming up on the end of our time here. Anything else anyone wants to discuss while we're here? All right, well, I'll just take a quick second to just say thank you to everyone. Great week this week. We got our legal entity. We're moving things forward. Stuff is starting to happen, and I think that it is really just this is how we are building together as a team. As we continue to work together, things will start to pick up pace, right? Like that's what happens. We intentionally went slow at the beginning because we wanted to build a different kind of organization. As we start to go further along on the process, things will probably start to move faster, but let's never forget the reason that we're doing this. Ultimately, yes, it is to bridge the UX gap between Web3 and the real world, but we're all here because we wanted something different than the world out there. We wanted something different than what the current world was providing us. And so let's make sure that difference happens as we're continuing to work. Even if the pace starts to move a little quicker, let's never forget that our mantra is that we're not in a rush. We just want to make progress every week, even if we have like some artificial dates that we've created for ourselves, for a crowdfund, for POCs, whatever they are. Ultimately, we can decide to move those dates. We've set ourselves up in a way that we can have that flexibility as we need, as we want. So again, we are here because we are building something different. We are all purpose aligned, and I want to thank all of you for being here because I truly think that as long as we keep working together, we're going to get where we want to be. So thanks everyone for putting in all that effort.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynx.
Thanks a lot, everyone. See you later.
Thanks. Ciao, guys.
Bye, everyone.